Hello and welcome to the Feng Shui Money Couch, where I talk about Feng Shui and other woo. My name is Laura Carrillo, and today's episode is called Feng Shui for the Divine Feminine and Masculine, a balance of yin and yang. Yin and yang refer to a series of opposites in Feng Shui, starting with female and masculine energy, dark and light, big and small, etc. We seek for a balance between these energies in our lives and our homes. A yin environment, for example, is a small, dark, cozy space with lots of little details and objects and more muted colors, while a yang environment is a large, well-lit space with minimal furnishings and bright colors. The idea is to find a balance and harmony between these two extremes. A bedroom, for example, is meant to be more intimate and yin, while a living room would be more yang and open. I recently started developing a new approach to my messaging around Feng Shui because I noticed that nobody else in my lane was speaking directly to men. I love men. If you met my dad, you would understand why. Listen, I hear a lot of divisive talk around the dynamics between men and women, and I have certainly seen and experienced my fair share of the dark underbelly of toxic masculinity, but it has never occurred to me to put all men in that ugly little box. I'm here for the yin and the yang. For close to 2 decades, my typical clients have been women because they are drawn to topics like Feng Shui, astrology, numerology, etc. Men much less so. However, when men have hired me, they are ideal clients because they are action-oriented and move shit around without hesitation. The key with Feng Shui, as with anything, is that you actually have to do it in order for it to work. You can have the best consultant in the world, but if you don't take action on the recommendations, it's completely useless. I love working with men for this reason, because if they are invested enough to hire me, they will follow my guidance with enthusiasm and an eye on the prize, and by that I mean their goals. My new approach in the way that I communicate about Feng Shui was partially inspired by conversations that I've been having with both men and women. I noticed when I speak to men about Feng Shui, they perk up around the history of it and how it was originally for kings and queens exclusively and the elite class. That's why Feng Shui is closely associated with generational wealth. In certain high net worth circles, it's understood that Feng Shui is a given where it comes to real estate, commercial, and investment properties. It wasn't until I entered those rooms and started having those conversations that I realized there's a segment of upper class society that doesn't need to be convinced about Feng Shui. I swear that would have been very useful information at the beginning of my career. The connection with money and power is very compelling to men. I'm just now broaching the subject of what it could do for their love lives. That's typically the conversation that I have with women around Feng Shui. However, for women, my language is more romantic and babies are part of the conversation. While with men, I'm becoming more frank about love and sex. Men and women ultimately want the same thing, but we communicate about it differently. And I am finding my voice with this new approach and bridging the gap between what men and women want to invite into their lives and with each other. The one thing I hadn't really talked about directly until now was sex. That seemed a bit bold until very recently. The reality is that the recipe for love and babies includes sex. It's life force energy and it's the ultimate manifesting tool. So in order for me to specialize in Feng Shui for the divine feminine and masculine, sex needs to be part of the conversation, especially now that I'm talking to the fellas. I am so psyched to help dudes, aka the divine masculine, as well as ladies. I have felt called with literal downloads and messaging specifically for men. Just check out my Instagram feed and you'll see what I'm talking about. Listen, I am still here for my gals. In fact, my work with men actually helps them create sacred space for us and the divine feminine. After working with me, your man will never leave that toilet seat up again because he will understand that it causes his money to go down the drain. The thing that I have come to learn about human nature is that sometimes people can't take certain actions because they instinctively aren't ready for the changes those actions will bring. We all have our blind spots or blocks, and when someone's actually ready, they will suddenly have a sense of urgency and make the changes. What I love about Feng Shui is how whatever is not working in your life is reflected in your home. If your money's going down the drain, it's hard to miss. If you're having issues in your relationships and they feel imbalanced, visit both your bedroom and your love gua. Your love gua may be outside the bedroom, but regardless, the bedroom and how it is arranged will always be a reflection of your relationships. I want to mention here that relationships and the love gua don't just represent romantic relationships. They also represent relationships in general. So the issues of imbalance that can exist in your romantic relationships can also exist in all manner of relationships, including your friendships, business colleagues, and acquaintances. Asymmetrical relationships where there's an imbalance in give and take can be reflected by only having one nightstand or having one much larger nightstand or lamp on one side versus the other. Having your bed shoved up against the wall is another example and reflects a sense of entrapment by either yourself or people in relationship with you. You want symmetry and natural flow of energy in and around your bed and in your relationships. You don't even need to desire a romantic relationship to desire harmonious connections. Sometimes we're in a personal chapter in our lives where we are focused on our mission or career and love feels like a distraction. This is all well and good, but not a reason to dismiss the principles of symmetry. We need other people in our lives besides just lovers who are supportive and for whom we are able to show up for in kind. If someone says they want a relationship or love or sex or companionship, etc., but resist centering their bed or getting two nightstands, that is a personal block that they have because on some level, they aren't ready or truly open to inviting someone in. It can be a control issue or fear of losing their independence, but that same person might immediately make changes to their money gua because that's their priority at that point in time. My job is to read the room and reflect it back to you. I provide solutions for your blocks, and it's up to you to decide what you're ready to take action on. I especially love working with homes and helping people create sacred space for love and abundance. My whole career has leaned towards a more intimate and yin approach to Feng Shui. But as I evolve and find my voice, a new and more yang perspective is emerging, and I feel called to speak to the interests of both men and women. I'm all about the yin and the yang. Everybody wins. Ladies and gentlemen, what are you making space for this eclipse season? I'm here for you. Visit my link tree for all the ways that I can be of service. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to spread the love and support my work. Cheers, everyone, and ciao for now.